I remember when I was in my early 30s, and even at that point, I could already see the differences within the struggles of dating versus when I was in my 20s. So I want to go over some of those common ones right now and how to fix it. The first one is lower energy. I don't know what it is, but the second you turn 30 and you start to get into your early 30s, you can feel that lower energy, or I can even say you feel the lack of energy when you are waking up, when you're getting ready for work, when you're going out, when you're socializing, when you're partying. You feel that things are just a little bit harder. In fact, they even say, and this is totally true, when you get into your 30s and beyond, drinking even hits you harder. So you start to see all those little physical differences. So how do we fix this? How do we combat that when you're trying to go on a few dates per week, when you're trying to go out and meet women, whether it be at night or you're doing cold approach? How do we handle this? Okay, first of all, you want to try to go out when you have energy, right? So there's going to be these reserves of energy that you have throughout the week. I would say don't force yourself to go out on a Tuesday night if you know that that's one of your craziest days at work and it doesn't make sense. Don't plan dates for that Tuesday night. So reserve your energy so when you have those pockets, you can take advantage of it. So for example, reserving some energy for the weekend, making sure that if you have a date on Friday or Saturday night, you're not doing anything too crazy that day. Again, to reserve it. We're balancing this out because we didn't have to do that in our 20s. Also, what's going to get you more energy is changing your eating habits and your working out habits. So if you're getting into your 30s and you haven't been eating healthy, you don't have any habits under your belt of going to the gym multiple days per week, these are things that will give you energy. You will notice the way that you feel when you are eating certain foods, whether they're clean or whether they're fast food. You're going to see and notice that difference. And also, when you start to work out more, if you're doing more cardiovascular type of workouts, you're also going to see that you have more energy throughout the week. So make sure that you're doing those things to have the energy readily available for you. Next, you're going to see a slight difference in female options, okay? When you're in your mid-20s to late 20s, something happens even in your early 30s where you just feel like you have a lot of options. Like when you're 30, you can go for pretty much any girl in their 20s. You can go for any woman who's in their 30s and 40s. Like in the early 30, late 20 range, you just have all these options. So you're going to start to get into your mid 30s, even late 30s, and then beyond. And you're going to find that you're not going to have as many options. So it's a few different changes, right? In your early 30s, it's going to be awesome. Then you're going to get to like 37, 39, and you're going to realize it's a little bit harder to attract some of those women who are in their mid-20s if that's what you're looking for. However, you're also going to notice that you've had still more options in your 30s than you ever have before. So one thing you can do to just make sure when you start to get into your mid to late 30s and even 40s that you have more options is increasing the number of volume that you're swiping. So a lot of guys are not usually swiping enough, not approaching enough, and therefore not getting enough volume, which is then resulting in just not as many dates. So you have to increase that volume as you get older because as you continue to get older, the options decrease. So more effort does have to be put in there. Next, you're going to notice that as you get into your 30s, it's just a lot tougher to make friends. It's a lot tougher. I even see this on social media when people make, TikToks and Instagram reels. People giving advice to people in their 30s and 40s, like how do you make friends when you're older? Because it's so much easier. It's just handed over to you when you're younger, right? You just have these big social groups, but things change when you get older. You're working more, your friends are starting families, so they're busy with their kids and their wives and things like that. So in order to make more friends, you need to think about activities, hobbies, interests that you like, and in those you can make friends. It's a lot different when you're younger. You're just around the people, and because you're around the people, you're just friends. You don't even have to have too much in common. But as you get older, even when you have your, high school buddies who are still friends, what are you guys doing when you're hanging out? Sometimes you might grab a dinner and hang out, but you're probably doing some sort of activity, something you guys like to do together. And that's how you're going to be meeting new friends when you get older. You're going to want to do some activities. You're going to want to meet people in those activities. And that's going to be the best way to create a friendship, because there's something for you to do. There's not much for you to do to go out to dinner with a person that you don't have much in common with and just kind of hang out and chill, right? Because you don't know them. There's no history there. That's why it has to be surrounded by an activity. Next, I know when you get older and you're in your 30s, you're not going to be as interested in bars and in clubs. A lot of guys, they say to us in our coaching program when they sign up for coaching, they're like, yeah, I don't want to be going to bars and clubs. And I say, listen, that's totally fine. You don't have to. You don't need to go here, okay? But I will say that there are some places in nightlife that can be really great for a guy in their 30s. You could be going to places like a upscale lounge, hotel lobby, a live music lounge, somewhere where at least you can get the volume. That's why I'm so pro night game and going out during the night to meet women, because there's a lot of women who are single, they are out, and you're going to be able to have those options. So I want you to reframe the idea of bars and clubs. This is different. You're not going there necessarily to party and rage anymore. You're going to be going there as an opportunity to date, to meet women. And pretty cool, there's a lot there. And again, you want those options. I should mention real quick that we are offering free strategy calls where we can chat with you and we can help you, whether you're in your 30s, 20s, 40s, to figure out how we can get you to the point where you are meeting more women and create a game plan for you. That's been really helpful for a lot of guys. You can go to tripadvicecoaching.com. There's also a link down below, and book a call with my team where we can chat with you and figure out the best strategy. But let's go to the next one. You're just busier with life. As you're in your 30s, life gets busier. You have more responsibilities at work because you're probably promoted. You probably have higher position and ranking at your work, so you're just taking on more. And maybe at this point you have built some hobbies. Maybe at this point you do have some more friends. Life just gets busier magically as you get older. So that is one struggle that I know a lot of guys have is, well, how am I supposed to date and meet women when I'm super busy? And it's very easy. You have to think of your priorities, okay? So a little personal development here. In life, when there's something that you really want, simply it needs to be a priority. So there might be some things in your life at certain times that are not as high priorities. You need to think about, how much is dating a priority to you? How important is it to get married, to get kids, to have casual relationships, just to be with women, to have those female connections? How important is that to you? Listen, if that's not important to you, I'm not here to convince you, then it's not a high priority and you're just going to be busy doing other things and not dating. But for those of you who say, Trip, it is a priority, and I do want to make it a priority, then you have to make it a priority. You have to look at your schedule and go, okay, what times can I insert dates? Can I be going out, approaching women? Can I be swiping? And what is going to be getting in the way of that? And we shift that down in priority off of the calendar so that you can focus on what's important for you right now. And then we can always bring those other things back, the hobbies, the hanging out with friends, whatever it may be. Number 6, guys in their 30s, you might be struggling with the fact that you're divorced, recently divorced, that you have kids. So this is how we're going to work this out, because I know there's one big problem here, and it has to do with scheduling, okay? Plus, there's the part where guys are very insecure that they have kids and that they are divorced. So with your now new busy life, because you have kids or you're going through a divorce, again, it comes down to priorities. Now, I know for most guys, your priority is your kid, okay? But where in there can you fit meeting women? Are there times when your wife has the kid? Great. That weekend then should be hardcore dating, swiping, going on dates, whatever you need to do. Okay. So again, back to just the same idea of you need to prioritize, figure out the points in which you can start doing that if it is important to you. Now, with guys who are divorced and have kids and they struggle with that insecurity that I mentioned, understand that it's no big deal. okay? You think it's a big deal. You've created this idea in your head it's a big deal. Maybe you got rejected a couple times because you told some women and they didn't really like that. So then you made it a big deal and you generalized the problem and thought, well, this is a problem with these women. It's going to be a problem with every woman. It's just not the case. It's just not true. So what you want to do is when you are telling a woman that you have kids, that you're divorced or going through a divorce, hopefully you're not going through like in the middle of a divorce and now you're dating, but with this issue, you want to act like it's no big deal to them. Okay, you don't want to have guilt or admit, oh, I should tell you I do have kids, I am divorced, because then that energy is going to be transferred over to her, and then she's going to be like, ooh, that's not good. But if you're like, yeah, no, I was divorced a couple years ago, it was kind of rough, but it's all good now, and yeah, I have 2 amazing kids, I love them, I see them every couple weeks, it's great, then that energy is going to be transferred over to her. And if some women don't like that, this is just the new reality. But I guarantee you that if you're able to have an attitude where it's not a big deal, that is going to help with her attitude. Next, you might have some bad habits built in place, okay? And this kind of is like the thing that might be hurting all these issues here in your 30s, these bad habits where you're not going out, you're not talking to women, right? So you've been not doing that maybe for 10 years because you've been in a marriage. Maybe you have a bad habit where you're not going to the gym a lot. You have a bad habit where, you're not learning technology or making sure you understand how the dating apps work. So you're just, you feel very far behind. Maybe you really are far behind. So it just takes some time to undo, but I don't want you to worry here. Anything can be fixed. Humans are amazing creatures. We are very adaptable and we adapt very fast. Habits can be built within 30 days. That's like no time at all when you think about it. So anything that you're working on and anything that you want to change, it might be harder now because these bad habits are ingrained, but it's just going to take a little bit of effort, a little bit of time to build the new habits, to be able to meet more women and create a life for yourself to make you more attractive. I want you to learn the 10 things that every man must learn by 35. There's a video here on the screen. You should be watching that as well. And if you want that free strategy call, go to tripadvicecoaching.com.